Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the March 12th, 2025 meeting of the Fond du Lac City Council. The first item of business is roll call, which is done electronically, and we are all present, so I will declare a quorum. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, which is followed by a moment of silent reflection. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on our agenda is public hearings, and we have none, so we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda finalizes the proposed actions for the meeting: A, February 26, 2025 regular council minutes, and B, list of claims dated March 5th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Godfrey and second by Mr. Zimmerman. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is audience comments, agenda and non-agenda items. The presiding officer will limit speaking time for non-agenda items to 1 minute and items noticed on the agenda to 5 minutes. Ms. Hefter, do we have anyone wishing to speak? We have one. And we do. We have Laura DeGollier, who wishes to speak on the non-agenda item of the North Main Street corridor.
Thank you, Madam President. At the first meeting in November, Councilmember Tom Schuessler brought to the Council's attention that no action has been apparent on the North Main Street corridor development plans. The plans designed by a consultant with input from citizens via survey on the internet and at least one public meeting should not be allowed to gather dust. As a tax-paying citizen of our city, I'm bringing to your attention that it has been 4 months since the item was on the agenda. Please give us a report at the next council meeting as to what has been done to market this plan, and/or let the developers of Wisconsin know that we have a plan and would like to invite their ideas and look for ways that we can work with them to make this plan become a reality. There are things that need to be done right now, such as marketing this area online as an opportunity site as recommended in the housing study. And because of the history of the area being a blighted area, this site is eligible for tax incremental financing. And if that is the case, then let's get that TIF district in place as soon as possible as yet another attraction to developers. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. And with that, that ends our audience comments. So we'll move on to our action items. Action item A is Class C wine license, limited liability company LA Nails LLC, agent name Leon Nguyen, agent address 373 Boyd Street, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, doing business as LA Nails, business address 459 West Johnson Street, Suite A, and our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you, President Brauld. The City of Fond du Lac recently updated our code to reflect changes to the state law that allow certain retailers to obtain a Class C wine license for on-premises consumption between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. LA Nails is requesting a license to provide wine for clients over the age of 21 that purchase a luxury pedicure. Background checks were done on the officers and agents. City staff and Alcohol License Committee recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Schuessler and second by Ms. Leering. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item B is Class B fermented malt license, limited liability company Wisco Cheese and Cheers LLC, agent name Melissa Jacobson, agent address 900 Furnace Street, Laval, Wisconsin, doing business as Wisco Cheese and Cheers, business address 362 North Peters Avenue, Suite B, and again, our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you again. Wisco Cheese and Cheers is requesting a Class B fermented malt license at 362 North Peters Ave to convert a portion of the car wash into a restaurant. If the license is granted by City Council, it will not be issued to the applicant until they meet all city building codes and receive building occupancy. Background checks were done on the officers and agent. City staff recommends approval as long as building code has been met, and Alcohol License Committee recommends approval as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullen and second by Mr. Godfrey. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item C is Class B intoxicating liquor and Class B fermented malt license, limited liability company Fond du Lac Beer Co. LLC, agent name Michael Leb, agent address N7430 Niagara Lane, Fond du Lac, doing business as Fond du Lac Beer Company, business address 21 4th Street Court. And again, our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you again. Fond du Lac Beer Company has applied for a full-service beer and liquor license at 21 4th Street Court. In addition, the Fond du Lac Beer Company will be applying for a brew pub permit with the State of Wisconsin Department of Revenue, Division of Alcohol Beverages. Background checks were also done on the officers and agents, city staff, and Alcohol License Committee recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman and second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please, oh, sorry. Ms. Leering.
I want to say a lot of people are excited about this in Fond du Lac, so
I have to agree. I've heard Fond du Lac is the, I think, largest city that doesn't currently have a brewery. So yes, there's a lot of interest in this specific business, so thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. And with that, that ends our action items. So we will move on to the presentation of input items. We have an update on the wage study presented by City Manager Mr. Moore.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Take you back to last August when you got the budget, and then we talked about some of the initiatives in the budget. One of those was a wage study. And by way of a reminder, the purpose of that was to validate the various professions in our employee that to determine if we're paying the right wage. And you may remember I said that we are seeing fewer applicants and more vacancies in terms of being able to refill. Now, that's improved somewhat in the last few months. But I also mentioned that we were going to go forward with the wage study right after the first of the year so that it could be completed in time for inclusion in the 2026 budget to the extent to which we could afford that. So I wanted to give you an update on where we are. Right after the first of the year, we issued a request for proposal. We're a big client. Our payroll is $34 million, so we got a lot of interest. We had interest from around the country from 7 different firms. We had a team assembled to analyze all those proposals, picked one. That firm came on board at the very end of January and has since then met with the department heads, issued a survey to 15 different cities around the state, and been doing some other research in the background. So ultimately, what we hope to see is essentially a report on all the positions, 169 non-union positions, as well as part-time positions and the library. And we would expect to see the preliminaries at the end of April and then the final sometime in June. And that meets our requirements for the schedule for the budget. And of course, at that time, you'll recall that Ms. Davey and I generally come to City Council the second meeting in June to initiate the conversation for the upcoming year's budget. And it would be at that time we would lay out for you what we've learned through the wage study and the extent to which we can afford it. And so with that, open it up to any questions you might have. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew where we were in the process and where we were headed.
Thank you. Are there
Mm-hmm.
questions from council? Mr. Mullen?
Reading it over, it seemed like the entire focus was on the wage, whether hourly or salary. And I'm wondering, are they considering benefits?
Yes.
Other amenities in there?
Yeah, it's total compensation.
Okay, because, I mean, I know I was never able to pay the most my businesses. There was always somebody with more money, but I offered my employees more flexibility, more, a lot of other benefits that allowed me to retain people who could have made more money someplace else. So I'm glad to hear that.
I think we'd say the same thing, as you just described it. The good thing is we have all of our pay and benefits on our website. So for all of those firms that looked at us and the one that we selected, they've got very easy access to all that information. And so they're incorporating all of it.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Mr. Heisler?
Mr. Moore, not a question, just a comment and a thank you. I'm not exactly sure who was all involved in the selection process, but after the overview of the document, it sounds like we've got a great firm, and I'm just really excited to see the data. I know we're going to be able to take a deep dive into that. So thank you to you and Ms. Davy and everybody else that's been involved in making that selection process. It probably wasn't easy when you've got 7 firms to try to decide which one's best, but I'm pretty satisfied with what we got so far.
Right, the team put an enormous amount of hours into reviewing all of that, and I'm sure you were hoping I would present that tonight, all those pages we included in the agenda. But we
3 hours later, we would still be here.
Yeah, we thought you could read that on your own. But yeah, it was a good effort to come up with the selection.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council members? I'm not seeing any, so I'd like to echo Mr. Heisler's comments and also just thank you for being proactive on this issue. I know it's something that we're all always concerned about, is making sure that, our city is staffed well and that we're compensating our employees well. So I appreciate the work that's being done. So, All right, with that, we will end that input item, and that is all we have on our agenda. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Heisler. This is not debatable. Please proceed to vote. And we are adjourned.
Aggie's got to stay till 9. That's
Well, yeah, you can stay here, but.